It's YouTube Wednesday!
I am turning out wall sconces, and when I fiberglass them, I can decide to leave the bottom open so light comes out of the bottom, or I could leave the top open so it shined light upwards. So this one mold, I'm getting sconces that shoot two directions. This is a two-piece mold, but it is a silicone mold here. And this is tube silicone that I painted on in layers over a clay sculpture. And this kind of just fits in. And I tinted the silicone a different color each layer so that I could see how thick the layer was going on. After the sculpture was covered in silicone, I made a simple plaster mold over top of it as a jacket to help it keep its shape. But it's pretty flexible. I'm laying down 2 layers of fiberglass mat with it. I'm going to start fiberglassing the sconce. I have my pre-cut fiberglass mat. I have my vinyl ester resin here. I want to thicken it. I'm just using plaster powder now. There's plenty of thickeners you can use. You can use baby powder. I have plaster powder, so I'm using plaster powder. Since I'm going to set my fiberglass to kick in about probably 20 minutes or so, I don't want a lot of working time with the fiberglass. It doesn't matter that the plaster will start to kick in 30 minutes. I'm just mixing in with the resin. I have not yet put in the activator, the methyl ethyl ketone. It's going to take a while for me to get this as thick as I want, so I'll probably speed up the mixing. This is a better consistency, and this will stick to the sides of the silicone mold a little better. I've got a depression in there. I'm just going to pour it all in and start working it around. When you lay in the mat, just press it down as much as you can, and then get your brush good and wet with the resin and jab it into the mat. You don't want to brush it because you don't want to slide it around. You want to stab it in so it gets closer. If you get it really saturated, it'll go around curves and stuff much better. Because I already have a thick layer down, I can mix up a much thinner batch that's going to saturate the mat better and go on top. I'm also going to kick this a little bit hot. I'm using the MEK that came with the vinyl ester resin. I know how much this is, so I know how much I need. Read the instructions. Don't just do what I do. It's always a bad plan. Do as I say, read the instructions. It's safer. But again, once you add that MEK, then your timetable starts. I'm now on a time crunch. And you notice a color change immediately while you're mixing. It kind of goes to from a purplish to a greenish. And you want to make sure it is good and thoroughly mixed. Okay, I'm going to do one more batch because along these folded areas that I have in here, I need it to be a little stronger, and I'll reinforce just around the edge. Oh yeah, and make sure you do this outdoors or in a well-ventilated area. Right now I'm spotting for thin spots. Alright, I'm calling that done, and I'm walking away from it. I'm throwing that brush away. Painted up and matted up a cast of the sconce, and I'm going to get this guy out of the mold. I'm going to remove the plaster mold so it's not in the way. Then I will flip him over so I can start demolding it. Alright, there's my mold. I'm going to set it back in there. And there is a sconce fresh pulled. I'm going to trim it. Okay. Alright, so now it's all trimmed up. It's ready for paint. It has been spray painted copper. I used black spray paint inside the mold as a release agent, so I already had a black base underneath of it. And then I just have some regular old acrylic paint mixed with some water that I'm going to do a bit of an antique with. I now have a damp cloth. I'm just going to start taking some of this away. Alright, that is my antique. I'm going to let that dry. I'm going to hit it with a little bit of a dry brush after this, and then it'll be done. I'm going to dry brush this guy with some gold. Once again, it's just an acrylic paint. Any metallic paint you want to shake up quite a bit because often it has particles suspended and they'll settle to the bottom. And what I just want to pop some of this. I don't want it to make it look not dingy, but I do also want that nice burnished gold look. Especially on this skull. I hit these studs pretty good. And now with the black in the deep parts, the copper everywhere else, and the gold on the real high spots, this has quite a bit of depth to its look. Alright, that's dry brushed. It's easy to go overboard with it, and you don't want to go too much or too heavy.